welcome to Run With Purpose. This is episode number 135, and for those of you that are new to the show, my name is Flores, and I'm so very glad that you found this podcast. I would love if you would subscribe. As always, you can reach out to me on all the socials everywhere at flores.run. Hope everyone is having a great start to their week. Honestly, hope you're having a great start to your year. It's been a minute since an episode came out for those that have been listening for a little while. Last episode was in November. There's been a lot going on since then, and we'll kind of get into a little bit of that here shortly, but hope you're having a great spring so far. It's been a few weeks of spring. Hopefully winter wasn't too bad. It wasn't too terrible here in Chicago area. We had a couple cold days, some icy, not too much snow, which was nice. I think every time it snowed, we were actually out of town, which was great. But it hasn't been too bad, which, you know what? I will take that as a win. We did have an amazing trip though to Africa. Kayla and I spent 2 weeks on safari in Kenya and Tanzania, which was just an experience that it's just hard to put into words. I shared some pictures on my Instagram and been sharing some others with friends and family, and just the pictures just don't do it justice. The things that we were able to see, the experiences that we had, it was just an absolutely amazing journey. And yeah, I'm not even going to try to explain it. I've said this to other people. I'm like, yeah, I can't explain it. Then I go to try to explain it, and it's like I did literally just say I can't explain it because it's an unexplainable type of thing. But it was really eye-opening just to kind of see the animals and the culture and just everything around it. One thing that we did take away was like a slightly negative to it was that we're the problem. Humans are the problem, especially tourists, especially from the West, of going there for tourism. I know it's a huge thing for their economy, which helps the people, but it also is impacting the animals. There were many instances where trucks were like chasing cheetahs or lions or following them, rather, not chasing them, but following them and preventing them from being able to hunt. And when we had those instances and we noticed it, Kayla and I just asked our driver if we could kind of peel off, go somewhere else to see some other animals, because we just didn't want to we didn't want to interfere any more than we already were. And it was something that was kind of getting to us. By the end of the trip, we were like, okay, we're kind of the problem here. I don't know how it's manageable. I don't know how you do it, especially because that entire region is only thriving because of tourism. But I don't know, something that kind of hit us in a little bit different way. Before we went to Africa, I got word that I was accepted into the Sydney Marathon to run that world major, since they just became a world major this year officially. So we'll be doing that and working on that. So that'll be Labor Day weekend here in the States, but we're going to head to Australia, then go to New Zealand for a few weeks afterwards. Just crazy trips, right? We haven't gone international, I think, since the last time we were in Australia in 2019 into 2020. Some things happened in 2020. I don't know if you guys remember that, but since then, we really haven't gone anywhere long trip-wise, and we've gone to Africa, we're going to Sydney and New Zealand, and then shortly after that, we're going to Israel with our church. So, use up all of my vacation days for the year. I think they were already booked in February. I was like, well, I can't do anything else, so hope I don't get sick, because I'm not going to be able to go anywhere or do anything. But it's been a great year so far. Looking forward to a lot of fun things this weekend. Actually heading to my buddy Sexton to his birthday bash. We're going to Vegas for a weekend. That'll be a lot of fun. We have a couple little trips, trip to Nashville, a bunch of these little weekend type trips, but excited to just keep doing things, seeing things. I'm excited for summer, spring, late spring and summer in Chicago. I'm sure Kayla and I will be in the city a lot, just because we like walking around the parks and just kind of being. We have a lot of parks up here too, so I don't know, ready to be outside. You can see the sunshine a little bit through here, but it's cold, so we're not going to try that today. But this episode is called Seasons, and there's a lot of nuance into it and why I'm kind of talking about this subject, or why this came up. You guys, if you've listened for a while, you understand that I write down ideas. I hear things. I'm like, hey, that'd make a good topic just to think over. And as I think through these ideas, if I think it's something that I could share, or maybe speak to a little bit, or talk to a guest with about, we turn it into an episode. And this was one that has kind of been weighing on my mind and my heart for the last few weeks now. Wrote it down, I think, while we were in Africa, to be honest, and just sat with it. And I was like, what does this mean? What do I feel through this, and what's going on? And I haven't done an episode in a while. What is that? How does that play out and all this? And so here we are. It's going to be kind of a stream of thought stream of consciousness, if you will, through the microphone. So hopefully I can package it in a way that makes sense to you and you can kind of follow along. Transparency, I actually tried recording this about 20 minutes ago and it just fell flat. I just felt like I was repeating myself, not saying things that were really trying to get the point across that I was trying to do. So I sat back, took the headphones off, gathered myself for a moment and came back here. So hopefully I can bring this into some sort of concise thought for all of you so you can kind of hear what I'm saying and what my thoughts are and where the future kind of holds with the podcast and the things that I'm doing as well. But throughout our lives, we have these seasons. And you may have heard it said before, like it was just a season of life, or it was, that was just a bad season, or it was a great season, or I missed that season. And that can happen with, our school, our career, a specific job. Maybe if you have kids, hey, I missed this stage of their life, right? Like the baby stage. I missed that, being able to do that or interact with them in that way. Now my kids are grown and I missed that season of life. And there's a lot that I think can go into that, but I wanted to break it down from the idea of how we view TV seasons, right? If you're watching a TV show, they break it up into seasons. And what the directors and the creators try to do is make these seasons kind of cohesive in and of themselves to say, hey, things are happening through this season. Something led into the season. We've got a little backstory. We've got some things going on. We have this climax. We bring it back down. And then at the end of the season, something happens to gear the characters into a new season of life. Could be someone gets married, someone has a kid, someone gets a new job. If depending on the shows you watch, shows like Kayla does, someone murdered somebody else. And with this, it leaves us on this like cliffhanger because we are wanting to know what happens next. And I feel like so often that's actually our lives as well. We'll sit in these moments, we'll sit in these times, but we don't realize it's a season while we're in it. And then towards the end of the season, something happens and it shifts our focus to something else. Something changes the way that we interact in our day-to-day. And in that moment, we can say we start a new season. Now, again, and I'll get to this in a second, is I don't know how we know the start of a new season until the season's done. But in that moment, we can feel some sort of shift. Some old things are no longer as important or taking that space up in our lives. And we tend to focus on other things. Not that those things are good or bad or indifferent, right? Like we just shift that focus because the season of our life that we're in changes, right? If you're watching a TV show and every single season there wasn't any character development or character growth or anything with the story changed, you really wouldn't watch that TV show, right? You see it even like older sitcoms that they win a long time, but you can kind of tell what's going on here. We love NCIS, but NCIS is kind of the same repeat story. We can understand who's doing what. We can figure out who was the murderer long before any one of the characters did. And Kayla and I would say, like, if they would just listen to us, they would listen to what we're saying. We already told them who it was. But the one thing with shows like that have been going for 20-something seasons is whether the individual episodes, the structure of it is the same. The journey that everything is going through changes, right? Characters come in, they go out. You will learn a little bit about that character. You get some development. You see what happens, and it helps you grow, and you get like attached to these things. And then what happens when the show ends, or you start getting to seasons that you don't like? We look back to old seasons. I've done this a ton of times. I wonder if you have as well. You'll go back to an episode or go back to a show, and someone's like, "Oh, I didn't like that show." I'm like, well, I didn't like it after season whatever. We talk about with Suits when Meghan Markle and the other guy left the show. We didn't really like the show much anymore. And you're like, well, because if we really missed that season, like if they kept doing that, that'd be great. But we know if we just repeated the same thing through the season, it actually wouldn't be growth either. We would just be repeating the same things over and over again. So the seasons of life, I believe, go in that same cyclical pattern, right? Of we get invested in a thing, we're focused on the thing, and it's the thing that we need at that moment in time, and we can lean into it, build the relationships, have the job, be with our kids, whatever the case may be. And then after it, we grow in some sort of way when we shift into something else. When when we were talking about the seasons, Kayla brought up Bella, and that's a season of our life, which it doesn't feel like saying it's a season feels like it's not making it hold its value that it had in our life. But in this concept, that's what it is we didn't have Bella, then we had Bella, and we lived life away with that. And then when she was no longer with us, we've changed some of the things that we do. We're able to do different things, or we're purposely doing other things that we may not have had an opportunity in the previous season of our life. Sorry, I didn't even plan on bringing her up, and teary-eyed. But with seasons, I think we don't realize the season itself until it's over. Until you get past that moment, and then you realize. It's easy in a TV show because we have our 24 episode seasons and we know it's over. We know it's going to end on something big to promote us back to the next season, right? We know what's going to happen. We don't know what's going to happen because it's coming through in the next season. But with life, we don't usually see them like that while it's happening. We don't see one season ending and merging into another season. It's really when we look back in our lives and have this nostalgia of like, hey, remember that time? Whether it was good and we were looking back and saying, man, I really missed that time. I really missed those moments. I wish I could relive those moments over and over. I want to watch the reruns and be a part of the reruns of that season over and over again. But in life, we don't get that chance. And when we're in those seasons, we try to make the most of them, especially with this thought of understanding that they don't last forever. These seasons of life we can go through, and they change so frequently, and they can fleet from us. And it's like, how do we make the most of the opportunities that we have and lean into those relationships or lean into those experiences? Because that season could change. Anything could happen. And how we react from that is going to make all of the difference. I'm so far off of what I was initially thinking I was talking about, but I hope this aligns with you as well. This thought of the seasons that we're in, we can understand, we need to be able to lean into what those seasons are. And as I mentioned earlier, this thought process of not knowing when seasons end, and we have this kind of like blending of the two. When we look back, we can sometimes get stuck in that. And it's easy to get caught up in what once was and lose sight of what could be. What could we have in the next season if all we're doing is focusing on either the current season we're in, more likely the past seasons, because we don't recognize the season we're in most of the time until it's past. But I think it's really about identifying what is important to us through these moments. What can we learn from those past experiences to bring into the present and into the future to say, hey, that season of life was tough, but this is what I learned through it. This is how I persevered through the aspect. And I think those are the moments that we can help people. If I look back at my life, my adult life, when I started running back in 2010, when I ran my first half, and it had been a huge part of my life. I'd never really run before, and then I just kind of picked it up, and it just became a lot. Obviously, the journey of the 50 states, and then the podcast with John, with Running Beer and BS, and then this podcast, and the friends that I was able to make, just being a part of a running community in Ohio and doing those races. And, some of my best friends I still talk to are because of running. We were all just idiots that wanted to just go outside when it was cold. And we did it together, in the community that was built, and the families and the friendships that were made because of it. And then you add the extra layer of it of the podcast and all the people that I've gotten to meet because of this platform, to just talk with really, really cool people and make friends through that process as well. But, over time, things kind of shifted. With running, obviously, when I finished the journey, I didn't have as much motivation, but it gave me an opportunity to rest. And getting older, I know I'm not as old as most of my running friends are, but, getting older and disliking winter kind of made me just want to let my body heal a little bit. It's funny trying to get back into training for Sydney, even after doing Chicago at the end of last year. Things hurt. Running 3 or 4 miles, like my breathing has to get back into shape. I'm feeling like I'm relative to that shape. I'm still going to the gym. I'm still, not letting myself go in that way, but things hit a little differently when you kind of take that step back. But as I was doing that, new things emerged. And this isn't like an excuse to say why I'm not doing some of the things that I'm doing, but just different focuses happened. I started getting more involved with our church, trying to volunteer more, and Kayla and I are doing groups again, and it's been great. We're doing more reading. And here in our community, Kayla is just fantastic in putting on events with our community to get people together. So whether it's a Whiskey Wednesday or some sort of social hour, or she's got bingo night coming up, any of these things just to like get out in the community and just like be a part of what people be a part of a community and be with people. Lots of peopling, but that's okay. That's what it's about. And then recently, I've started this DJing kind of thing, and it's been interesting to see that shift. Again, we don't realize when seasons are over. The journey kind of helped me understand, like, hey, that was the 50 States journey was a part of that process. And when that ended, it was like, okay, I know I want to do more world majors. The continents will eventually get there, but just didn't have that same kind of drive towards it. And I started this DJing stuff in November, and just, started with doing some live streams thanks to my buddy Sexton of just like, hey, let's do this. And I've met a community there as well. I mean, some really cool people doing that a couple times a week, just playing music and just having a blast doing it. Kayla sits on the couch right here while I'm playing. I actually play right here on this table. And she just she's taking videos of me stuff and just seeing the joy that I like just playing music and kind of bringing the energy, even if no one else is watching. Even if it's just Kayla watching on the TV there and watching me live, that's more than enough. But it's teaching me to learn new skills, learn new technical stuff. I'd love to start making some music and doing production stuff, and I'll eventually get there. And I know it takes time, but maybe this is a new season. I don't know what it means. I don't know where it's going, what it's doing, but I'm leaning into what I have right now and building the community and building the friendships and doing those things, in addition to building the community around the people in our building or the people at our church, or trying to be a part of that, realizing that I can't and shouldn't do this on my own. It's so easy to get caught up in being able to kind of handle these things by myself. I don't know why I'm getting so emotional. To know that I have to kind of push forward, and I can do these things and I can get these things done. And it's like, no, you need people. It just makes things better. We were designed to be in community and with people. So I think for so long I pushed it away because I didn't like interacting with people. I don't open up still probably as much as I probably should, but I think it's one of those where when you can realize the importance of having others around you, to be able to carry those things with you. I don't know. That's a whole other conversation and topic. So, but as we kind of talk about seasons and where things are going and where things have been, the podcast came to mind. Did a handful of episodes last year. We've been doing this for, I think I started in 2019. I think August in 2019. And, 135 episodes is nothing to say it wasn't a lot, but there's been lulls in that process. But through it, it was one of those where as time went on, I just wasn't having that same drive for it. I still have all of my notes. I have my conversation. I have things that could be helpful, but just wasn't making the time for it because it was the DJing stuff has kind of taken over some of the extra creative time that I have. But it's just the value that I had. I've said this many times before is I do this podcast because it helps me kind of talk through things. And being able to share those with others and hearing how people react to that, it's been great, but I just haven't felt like a lot of the things I've had are going to add more value, right? If you look through these episodes, a lot of these things are repeat thoughts, right? I hash on a topic and it ends up kind of being recycled because a lot of it is just around purpose and intentionality. If we hit that as the marker and getting comfortable with discomfort, that's really going to hit a lot of these things. And I was like, am I providing more value? What's going on? And I was like, wait, I'm doing this for me, but now I'm having this community and I'm being able to kind of meet other people and share things and have these thoughts, and it's kind of freed me to feel like I don't need to express it as much here, maybe. I don't know. Just the thoughts that are coming out of my head. But I enjoy doing this. I enjoy having the conversations with the camera, and I'm just not as engaged as I once was. I've met some amazing people, heard some amazing stories, learned a lot about myself and how to grow and be a speaker and interviewing skills. We just did a video for our church and we got a lot of compliments about how well-spoken we were and how we went through our thoughts and how they're very clear and concise. And I'm like, well, usually my podcasts aren't clear and concise, but the speaking aspect of being able to talk to people and do this in a way that makes it somewhat presentable to others, I think has helped so much in just my overall leadership skills at my job and all the things that I do. But maybe it's the end of a season. The open-endedness of, not having episodes at least once a month was kind of getting to me. And part of me, I was like, oh, maybe I need an explanation for the people to be like, why haven't I been doing this? And I was like, wait a second, it's really an explanation for me. This idea of like some pseudo closure. So this is the episode. This is the thought around seasons. The season that was and the season that is coming, what happens, right? Everything remains as it was, but who knows when the next episode will be? There's a lot of podcasts that do these seasons, whether on a yearly basis or they kind of run kind of like the network television, fall to spring as a season. And then they say, hey, here's your season 2, catch season 2 of this podcast and whatever, because they have these thematic ideas. And I've never done that. When I actually upload my episodes, it's always season 1. Season 1, episode 135, which that seems kind of weird to have that many episodes in a season. And that thought really kind of hit to me. And that's why this kind of linked here is, hey, maybe this season comes to an end with this episode. I don't know what's going to happen in season 2. I don't know when season 2 is going to start. But as we think about the correlation as like with the TV show, where the season ramps up and we see exciting things happen or some sort of dramatic aspect happen, what's going to happen? Find out next year, find out in the fall of what's going to happen here. And I think I'm excited for it. I don't know what it looks like. I don't know what this whole medium looks like. And all of you that have supported me through this entire journey for the last 5 years, coming up on 6 years, it's been an absolute amazing journey. And I'm so thankful for everyone that's kind of been a part of this process and doing all these things. But I think it's time for the end of season 1. The TV shows and seasons start with their new adventures. So that's what we're going to call this. We're going to call this the season finale. I'm not going to call it a series finale because I think there's a lot to be said about giving the opportunity to come back and reflect on the things that have happened. Again, this journey that I'm doing with music or international travel, there's a lot of things that I'm going to learn through this journey that may be helpful for others. Honestly, it might be helpful for me just to talk about for myself. Like I said a moment ago, hence the shifting from the emotional aspect is people are important. Bringing people along is important. Having community is important. How do we lean into that a little more? And what can I get from that to provide to others? And don't get me wrong, it's not about what I can get from people, but it's understanding what I can receive from those relationships and embracing that. I think those are the moments that are going to be worth talking about, but I'm not going to force it. It's not fair to you. It's not fair to me to just fake it a conversation here, but I want to make sure I'm embracing things that are happening. There's been a lot that's even happened in the last 6 months. I'm like, hey, that'd be really cool to talk about here, but I want to make sure I'm doing it in the right way. So we're going to call it a season. Who knows what the summer's going to bring? Who knows what the fall's going to bring? Who knows what's happening? But again, I appreciate you all coming along on this journey. I do know we're going to have some more Hangry gear coming out soon. Store should drop this week. So check that out, wearehangry.com. Purchase some merch. We're going to be trying to do some big things this summer in Chicago with Hangry, but yeah, I just don't know how to end it. So I guess we'll just do it the same way we've done it 134 other times. Reach out to me on social media everywhere at flores.run. Subscribe, leave a review for the podcast. Super helpful. Thanks so much for joining me today. Remember to keep running with purpose, one step at a time. See you next season.